All right, sorry I missed my live stream that I usually do in the mornings. I had a couple of commercial flights I needed to do this today, so got that out of the way, and now I am able to make some cool live stream videos. So this past weekend I'd made some pretty sweet tiny whoop videos, and they were kind of long range, and I've got a lot of questions as far as what equipment I'm using and how I was able to get that type of range and what was I doing. And so I figured I'd just kind of roll through my equipment and let y'all see kind of exactly what I'm using. And if y'all want to do the same stuff, then go for it. Or, you just make your own opinion. So we'll start off with the tiny whoop. Y'all probably saw me do this whole build. The only thing that I would say it might be special is the flight controller in this. The flight controller is a BETAFPV long range FRSky receiver. They call it long range, but it's like actually the older version. It does not have the baked in OSD. But it has this antenna that pokes out, and I made sure and have it sticking perpendicular up and as straight as possible, and that seems to be giving me some really good range. So that's, and as far as the FPV camera, it's just a simple dipole. There's nothing special going on there. It's just your simple, cheap Amazon purchase. So there's not really much going on here. So let's kind of move this to the side, and then we'll go over to my transmitter. Y'all have probably seen these Taranis transmitters. There's nothing special there, but I have done a antenna mod. So I have a 5 decibel TP-Link antenna that is detachable. So I basically took my Taranis apart and installed this connector with a 3D printed collar, and I can put on different antennas than what basically came on its stock. And if I get that antenna oriented properly, where I'm shooting out my RF lobe in the direction that I want to fly, I can punch through buildings pretty easily. So as far as control, that's what's happening on my transmitter. And then I think, honestly, this is probably what's making the biggest difference. These are just Fatshark Dominator V3s. And then I've put a Laforge Diversity. These are 3D printed covers. And it has a diversity, which means it has 2 antennas. So I can put 2 different types of antennas, and whichever antenna has the best reception, it automatically switches to antenna A or B. And this is just the Fatshark dipole, the junk antennas that you always throw away when you first get your Fatsharks. But the thing is, since there's a dipole on the transmitter here, it's really good to have a dipole on the receiver. So I think that's helping quite a bit. But then I also have an ion antenna on this side. So these things are pretty ridiculous. They are circular polarized, and I have been very happy. IB Crazy designed and made that. The guy is a genius. If he makes anything, I pretty much buy it because I know it's going to work really well. There's like the model number and all that stuff if you're curious, but I'll put links in the description below. This is circular polarized, so I don't know if this is making a big difference or not. I just usually leave that on, and then whenever I'm flying FPV, I'll swap out a patch antenna, circular polarized, for a dipole if I'm flying dipole. But those are the 2 antennas I'm using on the Fatsharks. And then also, if I plug this in, you can kind of see that I've updated the firmware on my diversity receiver, and I custom designed, or I downloaded someone's design for this cover plate, and then I modified it to allow access to the ports here, so I can take my USB ASP really quickly with this 6-pin connector, just plug it in like that, and then I can program and update. I'll put the files for this plate down below. It just makes it really easy to update the firmware. And if you have a Laforge and you have not updated the firmware, you owe it to yourself to update it, because it really makes your Laforge come to life, and you can do a lot more cool stuff. Just a lot better features and stuff with it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm running for my long range gear. Nothing too special. But I guess more than the hardware, also I wanted to talk about just the strategy. Whenever I go to a location and I fly, I'll pull up the RF analyzer on my goggles, and I'll see if there's any noise. And luckily, the past couple times, there hasn't been much noise in the Race 8 channel that I normally use. So I didn't have to mess with any of that. And so then I try and locate myself in a kind of a central area where I'll be flying around. So when I was flying from the church, around the church, across the street, through the other house into the backyard, I don't know if you could see me, but I was kind of standing underneath the trees halfway between the church and the house. So I tried to split the difference between the two long range, or the two distances that I was traveling, and that seemed to work really well. So just be mindful of, I guess, the interference in your area, and then also try and kind of cheat the location of where you put yourself as you're flying, because you can really, you know, if you put yourself in the middle of the long distance you're flying, you can really cover some good distances. Okay, so that does it for this. I just want to make this really quick video to let y'all see kind of the gear that I'm using, and I'll put the links down below, and y'all can take a look at that kind of stuff you want to purchase or whatever. But yeah, all right. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be putting another one up here in a little bit because we're going to be going over this charger. Oh my gosh, I cannot. We'll talk about this in a second, but this charger is amazing. I love it. You should get one. Okay, bye.